20 years we're still going to have pensions even in government?
Yes, I do. I think they have to be properly funded at all times. And since I became governor 5 years ago, every year we put the proper amount into the pension funds. That didn't occur before I came here. I inherited a very large problem of a $100 billion deficit. But we do hard things. Sometimes they're not popular, but they're necessary for everyday people to have a good economy.
That was Democratic Governor Pat Quinn of Illinois speaking with MSNBC's Chuck Todd on the Daily Rundown on Friday. Illinois has the lowest credit rating in the U.S. and was recently downgraded by Moody's for failing to fulfill its pension obligations. Its pension liability is $187 billion. That is 318% of the state's revenues. But while we focus on how states will fulfill their obligations to retirees, there is another important piece to this pension pie. According to a survey conducted by NerdWallet, a financial information website, CEO pensions are worth at least 239 times more than the average employee's 401k at 10 of the biggest U.S. companies, while the median yearly income of U.S. retirees with pensions stands at just more than $31,000. Connie, I got to come to you first. If we take a look at the gaps between CEO pensions and the average 401k, it's staggering. How does income inequality factor into this pension conversation, especially for those not making a whole lot of money?
Right. I mean, this really is an attack on the very basis of America. We are in a case where we're seeing income and wealth inequality widen. The attack on pensions is really widening it even more quickly. If you look at the communities that are in the public sector working, those are African Americans and other minority communities that are being attacked, really, with the attack on pensions. When we make the promise to have pensions, a lot of times people are taking a wage cut in order to have the promise of security going into the future.
And frankly, a lot of these people who probably could do other things or go into more profitable careers in the corporate world, et cetera, because of their own inclinations towards community service, whether they're teachers, whether they're cops, whether they're firefighters, et cetera, they are taking a pay cut in a lot of ways based on other career options that might be available to them.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, what I was going to say, I was just going to add to what these two wonderful women are saying, but right now, we are facing in this country a $6.6 trillion retirement income deficit. That's the savings gap between what people have saved as of today and what they would have needed to save to reach some basic sufficient level of income in retirement. And if that's caused because, as Lynette said before, there's a 50% coverage rate in this country. 401k plans are failing people miserably. Companies are cutting back pensions except for the corporate executives, as you said. So if we continue to see states and cities try to get out of their pension obligations, I just want to make this one point. America has been the land of promise. It's going to become the land of broken promises if we keep this going on. And so we have got to stop that.
And one piece on this is, look, we bailed out the banks coming out of an economic disaster that they created.
Right in 2008.
And then we defended, I mean, certain of us defended the rights of their executives and employees to get bonuses because of what? The sanctity of the contract. And then 3 years later, we reduced state and local aid from the federal government because of the economic condition that Wall Street created. And we tell public employees, look, the paper your contract is written on, not worth a thing. The contract itself, not worth a thing. We're willing to break those promises and send you into poverty.
That's actually a very good point. And Arun, let's bring it back to corporate America. What's happened with the pension system? Who bears the brunt of the blame? Is it corporate America or is it the politicians?
Well, I think it's both, but the politicians are bought off by corporate America. This crisis has Wall Street's fingerprints all over it. Now, there's also another three-legged stool when it comes to retirement, right? It's the pensions, like Social Security and defined benefits. It's also investment income, and then it's home equity. And the Wall Street caused crisis, which is the biggest criminal fraud in U.S. history, and which none of these executives have had to pay a price for, cost $8 trillion trillion in lost home equity. So you knock out one leg of that stool. And then we've had multiple stock market bubbles and crises. Let's not forget the internet bubble, which cost Americans $1 trillion in savings and was full of all sorts of fraud. You know, Enron was one of the most explicit. And now we find one of these Enron guys, John Arnold, is going around trying to get states to cut pensions. And then a lot of these investments were basically turned over to Wall Street to these dicey hedge funds. CalPERS, the California retirement system, lost over $1 billion on 3 structured investment vehicles that were rated AAA. And you can go across the country and find just epic fraud. And Wall Street hasn't had to pay a dime. And they're saying the elderly must pay, that we have greedy geezers who are the problem.
Right. Yeah, that's a very strongly held sentiment. We have to take a quick break. We'll be right back and talk about something that could affect millions of Americans when we come back after this.